Again, in your opinion, you think it was lost in, the gun was lost at the station?
Yes.
Okay. And when you found it, or when you discovered the error, who did you tell?
I told everyone in the office. I asked, where's the Glock?
That is audio of a CPD officer detailing the moment they discovered a weapon that was supposed to be in their possession after a gun buyback program was found missing. That audio is now at the center of a bigger story on how guns that are supposed to be taken off the streets are winding up being used in crimes.
Casey Toner with the Illinois Answers Project just wrote a story.
Hey, before we continue, I just want to add this real quick. We talking about CPD here, Chicago Police Department, man. They got TV shows about this type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Chicago PD. Y'all know about Chicago PD. If y'all watch the show, y'all already know. Corruption. Where y'all think these guns going back into? Hold on, because before I get really in tune into what I'm about to say, let me play the video, because I'm about to blow the people's minds that don't understand the game. But for those people that live in the Chi, that's been raised out there, that know the big major metropolitan cities, y'all know the game. So let me play this.
About it, he's joining us to explain what he found. Casey, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with at the very beginning. What case led you to discover that there was an issue with the buyback program?
Well, we learned that in 2023, after a buyback at St. Sabine, one of the guns was transported over to the district, all the guns. And when that when that gun was on a desk and it was surrounded by police officers were looking at it and talking about how good this Glock looked. And then the Glock disappeared. And then 1 year later, it turned up in the hands of a teenage boy. And that is the center of the story we wrote that takes a longer look at buybacks in Chicago.
Okay, so is this sort of a one-off? It happened this one time, but you haven't really found anything?
The Glock looked good. Somebody commented the Glock looked good, and then the Glock disappeared. 1 year later, it was in the hands of a teenager. Hey, I know when I see a good looking Glock, I'm like, hey, I gotta buy it. So I know it might have been a nice looking Glock he seen. He said, ooh wee, gotta snatch it.
Led you to believe that it's happened again and again, or is this sort of a pattern that you're noticing?
Well, what we showed with our story with the Chicago Sun-Times is this has happened in the past. And there is a case that we wrote about that happened originally in 2007, where a Cook County judge turned over a gun to a Chicago gun buyback. And then 5 years later, it turns up on the streets of a fatal police shooting in Cicero. So this is not the first time, but these are two now very well publicized cases of things going completely wrong at these gun buybacks or after these gun buybacks in the city of Chicago.
As it refers to that case, I think you did reach out to the Cicero spokesperson, Ray Hanania, who said that, quote, the town of Cicero stands by the actions of its police department, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he said, right? And it's true. They did say, we stand by our officers, they do the right thing. But at the same time, this became a lawsuit, right? And the town of Cicero decided that it would be better if they settled the lawsuit for $3.5 million than take it to court, right? And so very clearly this is not,
Corruption.
just a cut and dry case. It's very complicated, and at the heart of it is this huge mess involving a Cook County judge. And at the very least, this is something that should not have been allowed to happen. That gun should not have been out in the streets, and this gun that we wrote about in Chicago should not have been out in the streets in the hands of a 16-year-old boy.
Okay, so the bigger picture is sort of looking at these buyback programs. As CPD and some of the other departments look at these programs, have they started to make changes? Meaning, are they acknowledging that some safety measures need to be put in place, or better safety measures?
CPD did acknowledge to us that this was a problem, that this was bad. They issued a statement where they kind of talked about it. But what they failed to do was tell us how they plan to improve the process in the future. And these gun buybacks, there's a general consensus that they don't really prevent violent crime. They're useful
Right.
in engaging communities and bringing people out to police stations to turn over their weapons. But in terms of getting these guns that, are a big driver of violence in Chicago, like the pistols that are fitted with the automatic switches, those kinds of guns aren't coming into these buybacks. The guns that cops are usually getting are older guns, inoperable guns, and not the kind of weapons that are just seen
right
that
now.
are just driving these spikes in violence in Chicago.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your time.
Hey, I'm gonna say it like this now. Chicago's screwed, bro. Look, let me explain the game now. Chicago does these annual, I believe, buybacks. Everybody come to Chicago, they get a gun to the police, and most likely they'll give you like a gift card. I think they used to give cash, but now they give gift cards and shit like that. People just take their old guns or guns they found on the street, you get what I'm saying, and give it to the police. Some might say you might have caught a body, caught a hat with the gun, you hear me? And then gave it to the police. Say you found it. You know what I'm saying? Don't know what's on it. It's a buyback, basically. They buy your firearms. They buy any firearms, no questions asked. You just bring the guns to them. They give you money for exchange. Or if you don't want no money, they'll just give it to you. You just give it to them. I want the guns off the street. You might have found your grandson with a pistol. Your son with a gun. Don't know where he got it from. You snatched it from your son. Went to go sell it to the police as a buyback. You hear me? Because it could have a body on it or two, maybe. You don't want your kids getting caught with it. So I understand CPD doing it. But now we have a bigger problem. What are CPD doing with these guns? Because I'll tell you one thing they're not doing. They're not destroying them. These are firearms we're saying here. They probably got a big old factory full of firearms. Probably over 10,000 firearms just sitting in there from buybacks from over the years. You think they getting rid of these guns? They know where these guns are going. They're not destroying them. They probably just gonna put them in a bunker or something. Just let it sit there. Probably refurbish them. Try to get it cleared. Serialize it if they can. Resell it. Come on, bro. That's like taking gold as a gold buyback. We take your gold and we just hold it. Fuck out of here. Nobody's doing that, right? So for the people that are doing it, you see what they're saying. The guns are being found, or they're old. People don't want them no more, so they give them to the police. The police takes them. The police see that these guns look really nice. At this point, this gun is a burner because it's untraceable now. Because the gun who they took it from initially gave it to the police to surrender. Once the police has put it in their evidence as if it's no longer registered to the person that gave it to you, it's a burner at that point. You can now take that firearm and do whatever you want with that firearm. It has no trace. It's an unregistered firearm now again, as if it was never bought. You get what I'm saying? Then officers, they got a little weary eye. They look back and then they like, is this too loud? They look back and then they like, yeah, I like this gun. What she said? One officer comments that he said he liked the gun. Next thing you know, the gun disappears. Just like that. And then I want to explain y'all the game real quick. How do y'all think? Really think about this. How do you think the guns are getting back in the community? Y'all think that the people are just, the cartel members are bringing the guns across the straits? It's coming from the Philippines? Yes, they're making guns in the Philippines. Yes, guns are probably coming across the border. But that's not how the guns are getting in the community. Why do you think the politicians don't make laws against the people that are having guns? Only when there's white on white crime with legal guns, not when there's non-illegal guns. Because what's happening is the police that's supposed to be protecting and serving Chicago PD, they take the guns from the buyback, they scan them and unregister them and keep them into their bunkers. In actuality, what's going to happen is they take it back. They take back it and they hide them. They go give it back to the streets. They might give it to a nephew, cousin, some little street niggas. You know what I'm saying? And the funny part is about all this is that people don't think it's happening. The liberals don't believe this is what's going on. This is exactly what's going on. How do you think the guns are being in the community? You think these kids just know a gun plug and everybody just straw purchasing, bro? That's not what's going on. Most people that's buying guns ain't just buying guns and giving them out. They're either making them 3D printer, or they're being given to them by the same law enforcement that's taking them. Yes, it's damn near trafficking guns, gun trafficking. They're taking the guns and they're giving it back to the streets for a price. I didn't have to pay for this firearm because I'm the police officer that got it from you. Then I take the gun ends up, see, the thing about this is that gun that they said that they found the teenager, they didn't even know it was missing. The gun was gone for a year. They had no clue the gun was gone. They found the gun on a kid. They had no clue the gun was even missing. How many guns that haven't been discovered in Chicago that has happened to? You know what they really need to do is, if they're not destroying these guns, which they're not, they need to take a registry on these guns and do a yearly audit and make sure those firearms that were scanned into the system are still there. Yes, because what actually happened in this situation was that they took the guns and they of course unregistered them, or at least if they didn't, they just put it right back into the streets. They sold it back to the streets, or they just drop it off on the streets for the kids to have it. Then we're worrying about why the kids got guns. How did the kids get guns? Oh, it must be somebody buying it for them. No, what's really happening is that they're taking the guns and they're giving it back to the streets to keep the violence. Imagine this, if they keep the violence off the streets, then we have no job. If there was no violence going on, there was no need for politicians. There's no need for the Democrats there, because there's no violence. What you do is you store up your own violence. You take your own violence and you store it up. And then you blame the people that legally buy the firearms for committing the crimes that they never did. The system did the crime. And in order to keep my job and keep my hours and keep shit rolling, I have to do illegal things. Doesn't it make sense? That's exactly what's going on, man. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section. Don't forget to comment in the description. Don't forget to like for the algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe. It's your boy, Angelo So Savage. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section. Peace.